My name is Jansen, and I just got done stand-up paddling the entire length of the Baja Peninsula of Mexico, 1,004.50 miles exactly. I grew up as a die-hard surfer. I started standing up on my boogie board when I was like 6 or 7, and then my mom got me a surfboard for my 12th birthday. And I was fortunate in that my neighbor next door, Rod Rojas, he's kind of a household name in the paddling world. But he started stand-up paddling, and I started noticing him strapping these things on top of his car to go paddle. And I was so curious about it. I was like, what is that thing? And I was like, I want to do an overnight trip in these. I was like, how do I connect the dots doing an overnighter somewhere? The same principle with an overnight stand-up paddle trip goes with like a backpacking trip. The lighter you are, the better and faster you are. Ultimately, you need a dry bag. That is the number one most important thing. I think the bigger the dry bag, the better. Don't try to go small because you'll end up having too much stuff, and you're gonna want something bigger to fold those seams and make sure it's watertight. And there's a litany of dry bags, but I choose 120 liter seal line dry bag, and that basically stowed all of the important gear that I needed because I camped the entire way down the peninsula. What's important is what's in that dry bag as well. So you obviously need a tent because depending on where you're going, you need protection from the elements. You need a sleeping pad. It could be a simple foldable Thermarest Z-Lite, or it could be the Big Agnes Ultra Air pads. And then you need a sleeping bag. No matter if you're in a desert environment or you're in the fjords of Alaska or New Zealand, you need to stay warm. You can get hypothermic anywhere on this planet. So a dry sleeping bag is incredibly important. And then in the back of my paddleboard is I had another dry bag, and that was the Mustang Survival 40 liter dry bag. And in that compartment, though, was the make or break Callaghan Survivor 35, which is a portable desalinator, essentially turning seawater into freshwater because Baja is a desert environment. So there are no freshwater streams there that I can drink out of. So I had to pump seawater and turn it into freshwater. And so those are the essentials of what I would bring on an overnighter. And then I am a coffee fiend. I need my Jetboil. I need my coffee in the morning, and I won't even consider a trip if I can't bring my Jetboil zip. I had a very small handful of overnight SUP trips in Yellowstone National Park that I've done, so I had that experience going into Baja with that. The biggest difference I've seen in packing for an overnight trip versus a multi-day, multi-month paddle trip is the need and necessity to create space for the amount of food you're going to need. It is astonishing how much space food takes up in your pack, because if you're doing 10 days, a week, a month, you have to feed yourself that whole time. That's going to take up a lot of space. And so my general rule of thumb is always pack bigger. Buy a bigger dry bag. It does not hurt to have a huge dry bag that you could fold multiple times if you don't take up that space. But if you don't have enough space, that is when problems are going to start. My advice for anyone that wants to get started and go on their very first overnight SUP trip is don't overthink it. Just go do it. Don't get overwhelmed by all the necessary or unnecessary gear. Think the basics and just go. Because the quicker you go out there, the more comfortable you're going to be. If you keep sitting there thinking about what you need, you're eventually probably not going to do it because you'll get overwhelmed. Now, the exception being is something as monstrous as the Baja. You just need to do your research. Like know where the towns are, how to get water, etc. Use some common sense, but just start.